Hello, hello, hello. It is I. Here I am. We've done leg one. We've done Paris to Shanghai. We managed it. We did the 11 and a half hours. Wasn't too bad. We felt a bit crammed in. We were a bit like sardines. We were in the middle aisle, right in the two middle seats of the middle aisle of four seats. It was a bit cramped, but managed to get a little bit of sleep. I watched June. Anybody ever watched June? I watched June. I've never seen it. Not seen the old one. This is the first time, obviously, ever seeing it. Saw the new one, and it was strange. I quite liked it, but it was strange. So yeah, we arrived a few hours ago. We were hoping we were going to get out into Shanghai, and we went here, there, and everywhere, and were sent on a wild goose chase. But then we're told that we didn't have enough hours layover, that you had to have 8 hours or more if you were going to go into Shanghai itself, which is sad because I wanted to go on the maglev. But there you go. When we come back, we've got a longer layover by 7.5 hours, but I still don't think we'll be able to get through into Shanghai. It's a pretty swishy airport. I can't just turn you around, so I'm just going to turn you around like that. It's a pretty swishy airport, and but it's not very busy, but then it's massive. There's loads of places where you can sit with your computers over there, and I've just I've just gone mad. Rather an interesting experience on a Chinese Shanghai airport toilet. It's very interesting. I sat down and it was warm. Asha came and informed me, Mother, you've got to go to the toilet. It's hilarious. Asha doesn't like warm toilet seats. She said it was warm. And then there were all these kind of controls. Now, some of you may know these very well, but not me. I just have a straight standard bog toilet. And there I was, sat on this warm toilet, playing with all these settings. Well, all I can say is it was entertaining. That's what I can say. It was entertaining. Still, still feel the after effects now. So we're flying out. For those of you who want to know, we are. I'm just looking at the board. Let me just turn that around so you can see it. We are flying out at 2020 here. Can you see that? On is that us? No, sorry, this one. MU561 G37. MU561 G37. And that's the one that takes us to Sydney. If you want to track us, I love the tracker. Tim has just landed in Sydney. We were just tracking him, and he's just landed ahead of us. So he'll be off in the arms of his daughter, who he hasn't seen for 7 or so months. So he can't wait, and he'll be having fun this evening. And Asher and I'll be sat on a plane for the second night on a row. It was very smooth, I have to say. The pilot was very excellent. Good takeoff. Asher and I were holding each other's hand on takeoff and on landing. Very good. And all Asher kept talking to me about was the flight in Toronto where it flipped over. I'm thinking, that's great. Asher, just shut up about that. So I'm just trying to think what time it is for you guys. Let me just see. I'm scared to come off this because if I come off it, it's probably going to ruin it. But what time is it? It's 12:04 in Paris. That means it's only 11:05 in the morning in the UK. It's 7:05 here. It's 10 o'clock in Sydney. No, yes, 10 o'clock in Sydney, and 5 past midnight in Christchurch, I think. So, did you hear me say all that? I hope you did. You might not have done. Yeah, it's quite posh. Look at the ceiling up here. It's quite cool. Yeah. Do you see? Can you see it? It's really cool. Yeah. So who's with me? Who is with me at this time of the? We've got Stella. I'm sorry, I'm looking down my glasses at you. I've got my other ones on. I've got my distance ones on with my old lady bifocals, and I have to look down my nose. Good evening, says Stella. It'll be 7 p.m. for me. Yippee! For once. For a few weeks, Stella, it's going to be potentially, it's either going to be very early for me or it's going to be better for you. Wakey, wakey, everyone. Safe journey, says Sue Sunshine. Thank you very much. Jenny Ackerstrom says, hey all. Georgie says, so fun to see you. Looks deserted there. Can you leave the airport? No, we were just saying, I was just saying I can't, we couldn't get out. We tried. And then I ended up having a row with a man in security because he took my power bank away. Because my lovely power bank, I loved my power bank. It had a light on it. It had all these little separate cables on it. I loved my power bank. And when we arrived, we sailed through security with it, no problem at all. But because we had to go on this wild goose chase to try and get out of the airport, because we'd been sent through transfers, we ended up going almost out of the airport to come back in through the normal security. And they picked up this power bank. Luckily, I've got two, but not two of the same. That was my favourite one. It's very sad. And he picked it up and went, no, you can't take this on because it doesn't have the power on it. I'm like, what? In the teeniest small print that honestly you can't barely read without a magnifying glass. They were looking for the power on it. It was only like a 10,000 one, milliamp hours, I think it was. And I got a picture of it off the website and I said, look, this is the one. You went, no, doesn't have it written on it. No, it's a real job's worth. So I wasn't very happy about that because, excuse me. So they took it and I'm like, what a waste. What a waste of a really good little piece of kit. And I really need my power banks, but hey ho, I've got one, which is quite a good one. I'm sorry. I'm going to sneeze again. Something's gone right up my nose, right up my nozzle. Sarah Lou says hi. Hello. Andrew Grady's here. Safe travels. Susie Pemberton says good morning. Happy Stop sneezing in a minute. I was going to say, just the habit of that, Angela. I was going to say bonsoir. It's not bonsoir, is it? It's good morning. Look, it's dark outside here. Do you see? It's dark. Oh, looks like oh, look, you can see the air crew, cabin crew, etc. have just gone in. That's our gate, G137. I'm gonna wander over to Asha because I want to show you Asha. She's done very well. She got some sleep. She got more sleep than I did, I have to say. She was leaning on me at one point with her lovely blankie. And it was quite good. It made a good pillow. Ulrika says, airports always seem to be such a waste of time for me. Hope all goes well until your arrivals in Australia. So do I. I'm all bunged up now. Andrew says 11:04 a.m. 5:04 in Tennessee. What, in the morning? Oh, crikey. Of course it is. Love Sydney. Lived in Coogee Beach for 13 years. Oh, gosh, I'm going to look that up. Would that be worth looking up? Well, sounds like it. Angela's here. Hi. Hello, Angela. Good luck to both of you for the rest of your journey. Rona Hoofs is here. Hi, Lindsay from Australia. I'm coming. I'm nearly there. Hello. Sushi dedication. Bless you, sister. I know. Got all bunged up. Karen says hi. Look, there's a China Eastern flight plane. It's not ours, that one. Can you see it? That's the China Eastern one. That's not ours. I'm going to walk around here and see if you can see our plane. Because it's obviously in because the air crew are in. I hope you're all having a lovely time with your horses and the Phoenix group. I very quickly dipped in. Doesn't look like there's been too much activity over the last 12, 24 hours. There we go. There's our plane. That's the one. That's the one we're flying to Sydney. I'm guessing. Oh, not that big, doesn't it? Maybe it'll look bigger when I get up close. Right. Well, obviously no lesson today. I can't wrap my head around doing any of that. How many of you read my incredibly long letter that I put out? You know, it's very interesting. I saw a couple of shares and a couple of comments. And there was a comment from a vet who didn't comprehend at all what I was saying in that letter. In other words, they were saying, it's not true because I've seen rotation caused by the lamella bond breaking, and that causes P3 rotation. And it's like, why evidence? You just don't have enough evidence. You don't have any evidence to prove that. And it is not what's happening at all. All of these blind assumptions because they see a horse walking around crippled because it can't walk around on its own 2 feet. Funnily enough, it doesn't always happen in the back. I mean, have they never asked themselves that question? I want to bash my head against a brick wall. Ask yourself a question. Why is it that, metabolic or not, whether you want to put it down to metabolic problems or not, whether you want to call it lamella separation rotation or capsular rotation, have you ever thought why they all just don't rotate all 4 feet on every single horse when they have that problem? Have you ever thought about that? Because the hind feet usually are absolutely fine. Sometimes a little bit, but usually absolutely fine. Depends what the hoof care professional's been doing. Depends whether they've understood hind feet or not. But usually they don't mess with the hind feet the same as they mess with the front feet. And so there's just so many inconsistencies, so many blind assumptions, and so much just blind faith in science that has not been tested, reevaluated, and had any evidence-based rehab or science associated with it. So, but it seems to have had quite a lot of shares and no response yet from any other community other than ours, really, other than that one vet, I think. It is interesting, isn't it, how we are not just proposing a different point of view, and it's not a point of view, it has just the flip side of what they think. And every single vet needs to ask themselves, can they put hand on heart and absolutely 100% tell me that they have all the sequential x-rays from completely normal foot to rotated in a hoof capsule that has not been tampered with? As in my experience, and I've been around this equine world a long, long time, and I've met a lot of vets. In my experience, the majority, I'm not saying all, because that won't be the case, but the majority of vets have absolutely no clue about hoof capsule biomechanics. They don't know about balance. They don't know whether heels should be at what height above the hard sole plane. They don't follow the hard sole plane. They want to take toes off every 5 minutes because they're worried about lever forces, which they've been told to be scared of, even though they don't exist. Hiding separation so that horses can be shod and used, even though they're being propped up and coping on miserable feet. And you think to yourself, you are all making these decisions and these assumptions and these proclamations, and yet you have not a scrap of evidence. And yet we're the ones seen to be the mad people, the nutters, for pointing that out. We're pointing fingers. You're damn right we are, because the equine world is suffering, and the equine world is in the gutter, and horses are suffering. And so it needs to be said, it needs to be brought out into the open. Rona says, I was about to say, it does your head in. It does your head in. It does do your head in. Tara said, my vet sent a pony my way, one vet at a time. It is one vet at a time. But until we change this damn rhetoric, this damn narrative that they've rooted into the equine world with absolutely no basis to it, you know, there's no doubting. They saw They saw lamella separation. They saw laminae tearing. They've seen it, but they can't correlate that with an event that actually happens before their very eyes. They don't see the event happening. They see it after the event. So what caused the tearing? Before rotation or after rotation? I know what it is because we've seen it 101 times. And that vet that made that comment also said that he's seen it with his own eyes. He, she, I don't know whether he or she, seen it with their own eyes. And that, in their opinion, only successful collaboration between a vet and a farrier is going to turn some cases round. It's not what we find at all. We need vets for x-rays, we need vets for pain relief, but we certainly don't need them for hoof advice. That's something that we are able to do because we're rehabbing these horses incredibly successfully. It's great having them on board. It's great having them listening. It's great having them thinking. And you will hear them say, it's shocking out there. It's a terrible state that the world is in. And they're putting horses to sleep left, right and centre for this problem, which they are blaming solely on systemic issues, which of course is not the case. And this vet also said that when a horse has had laminitis once, and this is another narrative I've heard so many times, when a horse has had laminitis once, they're susceptible and more likely to get it again and again. Well, they're not, unless they stay with the same hoof care provider who's doing the same thing over and over again. It weakens the hoof, they said. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do any of those things. When you correctly rehab and you properly rehab a foot that is imbalanced, and those are the only ones that have rotation, when you correctly rehab them, they're not weak. They grow to be strong hooves, just like the hooves that they should have had. So lots and lots of misinformation by people who don't do what we do, by people who go, oh yeah, but they're just saying stuff, they're just pointing fingers. No, there's not anybody on the planet that can actually put their hand up and say that they have rehabbed as many horses as we have in no shoes, no fixed on appliances, nothing nailed on, nothing glued on, the occasional use of a hoof boot in the early stages, barefoot. You cannot compare a successful rehab with an animal that's just about coping propped up in shoes. You can't compare that. So there's got to be big changes, and I'm glad we're out there making those noises, and I'm glad you guys are with me. I've been thinking about it quite a lot, actually. As I woke up this morning, we had about 3 hours to go, and I got woken up, and I lifted up my eye shield, and I thought, oh, I'm so hot, I can't sleep anymore. And I sat there just thinking, just my eyes closed, not asleep, just thinking about going over and over stuff, and being so shocked at how narrow-minded and blindsided the equine world has been by these case studies where they have just taken it as read. They have literally just gone, oh, he says so, so that must be the case, without rigorously investigating or testing or analysing. It's a worry, but we are making waves. People are starting to think. It's going to be a big old battle because people are not going to want to believe that really the true driver, the only driver of P3 rotation and devastation, suffering, osteonecrosis, pain and death is actually from poor, imbalanced hoof care. They don't want to hear it. They're not going to stop hearing it. And owners are going to work it out too. Karen says, fantastic letter. Thank you so much. Dawn says, yes, I read it. Oops, sorry. Yes. Yes, I read it all and have saved it for future reference. Thank you for such an amazing response and post. Funny how they didn't respond. Oh, I should think, excuse me, I should think that the response wouldn't come immediately. I can tell you now, I can imagine there is a lot of reading of papers right now. I think there's probably going to be a lot of trying to scrabble around finding a paper that refutes what I'm saying, that actually proves and shows sequential x-rays of a standard, healthy, normal hoof that has rotation, that has not been manipulated, that is not in part of a trial where they have killed the animals after a few days and then done things to the cadaver feet, which of course is not representative of what's going on in the world. So for domestic equines. So I should imagine there's a lot of busy scrabbling around, searching desperately to find that one paper. Go looking, guys. I've read the lot. Go looking, go and find them, go and find the ones that actually prove it. What they've done is they've come up with, you see, for years and years, I'm going off on one now, for years and years, we're not boarding yet. For years and years, the same old narrative has been said before they were able to do any research. So the people that were going into the research already had preconceived ideas because it had already been said. Obviously, they'd been x-raying horses' feet and seeing rotation for a long time. And the only explanation they could come up with was the fact that the bonds were breaking and that was causing P3 to rotate, because nobody had worked out or had even critically analysed the state of the hoof capsule. No one. Grace me. So this narrative was born. And so when Pollitt, etc., then came forth to investigate the laminae by doing the various studies that he did, he already had a preconceived idea of what was going on. So he already had in his head that P3 rotates due to lamellae failure, the basal membrane basically peeling away and causing those two sections to peel away from each other, the dermal and the epidermal laminae. So he had these preconceived ideas. So therefore, I think there's a word for that, isn't there? Or there's lots of psychologists have written about that. How it's all to do with confirmation bias, isn't it? Because that's what they're expecting to see. They've looked at it, they see it, and therefore one leads to the other, except they haven't got that big chunk in the middle, which actually they see it happening. So then from then on, it was always taken as read anyway. And then when Pollitt released that information, that research and the SODP, they all just went, yes, that's it then. He's just put a name to it, and it's what we've always thought, and that's what it must be. And horses keep dying, and they'll never fix it. Why they've never found a fix for it, because they never will, because it's hoof care that's causing P3 rotation. And they're going to kick and scream and throw their dummies out of the pram, probably for some time, until people eventually start to see it. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. What we got? Georgie says most of the equine world can't afford to acknowledge the truth, and never a true word said. Can afford it in many ways, and not just financially, economically. It will mean a huge look at everybody who is in the hoof care industry, at the people who've let this slip because they didn't see it, at the hoof care professionals who also let it slip because they're all doing different things, however they feel like it at the time. Yeah, the cost is huge, but we shouldn't, and it will be painful, very painful, but the cost should be borne, because at the moment the cost is being borne on the horses, the equines, who are suffering in a disgusting way. I was going through some of my images while I was on the plane thinking, God, how can they not see this? How has it taken so long for it to get to this? Why has it taken me? Why does it have to be me? Why me? Why HM? Why me and Gary? Why has it taken us to go? Just stating the blindingly obvious here. Has anybody actually studied the effects of incorrect hoof care on imbalance? Oh, no. So I went looking. That's where it all started. Went looking. There isn't any. It's not there. It's just not there. Tara says, you and Bethan together have so many followers. The world is changing and you are at the centre of it. I hope you know how special you are. Thank you very much. Bethan and I, when I go down, Bethan goes, stop it, stop it, stop it. I can't do it without you. So put your big girl pants on. And then I get all okay again. And then Bethan goes down and goes, stop it. Put your big girl pants on. And then Gary gets involved and going, come on, girls, you could do it. You could do it. We can do it. We can. They won't find anything. No, they won't. And that's what's very scary, what Rona. Very, very scary. And everybody who's out there going, oh, don't listen to them, they're a cult. Layman. Don't know, listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. All right, that's fine. Fine. Okay. All right, just humor me then. Just humor me. Don't have to listen to me. You can believe I'm mad. You can believe I'm a nutcase. You can believe this is a cult. Do all of those things. That's fine. But don't just stop there. Actually, go further. Go to the point where you can prove me wrong. I want you to go to that point to find those papers that irrefutably, definitively prove that what I am saying is incorrect. Do that, and then that'll shut us up. Do it. I'm not confident that you won't find it. Tara said, didn't Pollitt also say that the soul isn't designed to extra pressure when the wall is broken? 100%. Yeah, and this is what's so contradictory about an awful lot of the stuff you hear and read, because Pollitt did pressure tests on the soul, and he put pressure tests when the wall was in place, and he did pressure tests when the wall was removed. Granted, they were on dead animals and they were on cadaver legs, and some of them were sagittal sections as well, but he did do pressure tests, and he found that without the hoof wall in place, there were unnatural, in his words, forces and pressure on the soul. And then stopped. That's as far as he got. We didn't take it any further. We didn't start investigating osteonecrosis. They were so obsessed with the laminae. But yeah, he said that. And also, we must remember that in a podcast, and I've had it transcribed, so at some point I'll put that up. I'll look for it and put it up. A podcast between him and Dr. Simon Curtis in the UK, where Pollitt is talking about how there are some people in the world that are seem to be rehabbing horses, leaving the toe on the ground and being quite successful with a longer toe. And then that just gets brushed over. Forget about that. He mentioned it, but we forgot about it. And then he said his famous words of, I cannot tell you how they repair. I cannot tell you what happens in the repairing process. And that's where we have to go. We need to work backwards. And then you'll find the answers. But they never did that, and they can't work backwards, because the only way that they could do that would be to kill the animals and then look at the laminae, which of course negates the whole experiment, doesn't it? Because you need these animals alive. And we're the only ones in the world doing this. We're the only ones in the world that are doing this, leaving the toe on the ground, understanding hoof growth rates, understanding imbalances, understanding why P3 rotates, doing it barefoot, not sticking clogs on, rocker shoes, reverse bar shoe, you name it, it's not there. We're the only ones doing it. So stick with me, guys. It's going to be a rough old ride going up that mountain. I think we'll be on base camp. I'd like to think so. Anyway, 28 minutes in. How did I manage to make that last that long? They're just about to start boarding. Look, let's go have a look at that. We'll go down and have a look at her. Look. Here we go. Yes. Way. It's a bit cold, bless her. Right, we're going to start boarding. So I'll say ta-ra, and I will see you in Sydney tomorrow. Take care, my lovelies. Keep fighting the good old fight. You're with me, and I'm with you. See you later. Bye.